Okay, Mr. Rankin. SB 49.
So we met with the governance committee about Senate Bill 49, and everything looked good. It's more good today, but we again just kind of followed the law. And then the only thing we're waiting on was the lawyer's approval of the Senate bill. And so Senator will be worked on what we came up with, and she just looked around and said, hey, I want you to use this template. So after, and I've already sent that off to her, so we should be good to go blessings wise, as long as we use her template. So it was taking some of our material and just putting it in a lawyer friendly format that she would be able to use in case we needed it. So none of the policies changed, none of the procedural things. I've been like, when parents are requesting things such as, I want to look at your curriculum, what's that process look like? So with same kind of thing with so many days to review it. And then if it's not reviewed by the principals, then it goes to the executive director. And if they don't review it, then it goes to the board. And so those things didn't change. We just changed the overall format of it. So it's just, there's a lot of checkpoints on there in regards to what we have to post some of that stuff on the website. We have to make sure we include some of that stuff in our handbook. And the other things that we have to include are at the beginning of the school year when we do the packets at the beginning of the year and making sure that we're getting parents' consent for everything. So I was very proud and shared this with the governors committee. We kind of did that already. So it kind of worked in our favor. But yeah, so legal is good as long as we use her template. And so that's what we're going to upload and put on the website. So. Or I think I'm just kind of
You were great. I was just going to point out, like you said, a lot of the things we were already doing without SB 49. So it was just putting it more in their language and getting it distributed out. That was the big changes. Most of the policy and every procedures and things were already there. Just needed to be said the way they wanted it said.
And there may be amendments because the lawyer did say multiple times, we did the webinar or two, that they're still navigating, the Senate bill and as well as like how it links with some of the other laws that are out there. So I say this is the final, but there may be some amendments down the road as
there's always
legal teams or everybody's
it is going to conflict with a lot of other laws out there. I promise you that. So you need us to vote, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I know we viewed that the content is going in a different template, but everything, we're good to go, Ms. Merrill, and we're looking good. So do I have a motion to approve Senate Bill 49 as presented? Mr. Russell, second. Ms. Merrill, all in favor? Great, thank you. Okay, committee updates. Governance, anything else, Ms. Merrill? They didn't. We are at this point reviewing the procedures and policies things. Ms. June and I are the only ones on the governance committee, but we are working with that, and we have a set every 2 weeks on Tuesday. We kind of come together. Is there anything new? Where are you at? Where, how far along? And just keeping up with each other and trying to get those reviewed as quickly as possible. Great, thank you. Finance, Ms. Lane?
So we will be having our annual budget meeting coming up soon in May. So I think Ms. Simmons already sent out a calendar invite for that. So looking forward to it.
Thank you. Academic, Ms. Foster?
Okay, still doing, as you said, check-ins, readies, and I'm sure we'll have some information next month since those have just been recently done.
Thank you. Long range planning, the only thing Chad had, or Mr. Hines had, was to let everyone know, Ms. Break-in, as you know from the email, April 25th through the 26th. They will be emptying the tank at the high school to do the measurements and things, etc. So just need to stay off campus that weekend and everything. So just make sure everybody knew that. Fundraising?
Yeah, so we met today. We have a couple of staff and parents that have identified that they wanted to be added to the team. So that's exciting that we have some other voices. and ideas. They're hopefully going to be joining our next meeting, which will be in May. We're working on deciding on our goals for what we want to be doing. So what is our big picture? We're using data from parents, what parents are saying. Ms. Reagan's going to be resending out a survey to parents because I think a lot of people didn't see it. So we did get as much feedback as we'd like, but we want to hear from parents. We want to hear what they want, what they see, what they hear from their kids, as well as Ms. Reagan and staff members. So we're gonna wait on that before we start setting our goals of what we're actually working towards. We discussed ways to raise money and making donating easier for corporate businesses, for parents, for community members. And this kind of leads into, we discussed ways to market the school to the community and ways to make Clover Garden more visible to the community. So doing different things that just makes us a little more present. For anybody that was a part of the presentation that we did last year, one of the things that I really took from that was that most people in the community don't know about us. Businesses, unless your kids go to school here, you don't know about us. So we're discussing ways that we can make us a little more out there. So we're gonna really work on that because I think that's a key portion of fundraising, especially going beyond Clover Garden families and going out further is like to know us. And we'll be meeting again next month to get some action items in place. Okay.
Thanks, Ms. Wilson. Going on to new business. So just so everyone knows, the email went out to Ms. Barakin regarding the board member elections. We have 2 parent positions open and 1 community member position open. We will not hold an election due to lack of interest. So I think we're doing some interviews and everything, but I think we'll be able to fill the 2 positions from the parent. And we do have some interest for the community member. So we just need to review the information that they've provided and then do some interviews. And in May, we will be back to vote. And then Ms. Simmons next, the Acadia grant writing agreement.
I'm currently seeking the board approval, for the 24-25 our grant, writing contract with Acadia, and that can bear that dimension of Acadia. Then for our submission, our Title 1, 2, and 4, and our IDA grants. We do it, we've been contracted with them for probably maybe 4 or 5 years now. They do a lot of they hold compliance, they keep us in line with the due dates, and it's actually starting in April. It is April, we have the deadline in April. We feed them a lot of the information, the comprehensive needs assessment, the master survey, what the funds can be used for, where the needs are at. And they do all the submission as far as in the federal program for all of our grants are housed. These are 2 big ones, and they got bigger this year as our population grew. So like I said, they hold us. So I'm just seeking permission to go ahead and sign a dotted line, then to submit those federal grants for us from 2024. If you have any questions, of course, I will.
Y'all have questions about that? Understand anything that they do for us, or? I think we've been happy with the service and everything, so.
Yeah, we're great. Yeah. We have a really, yeah. There they are. It is a lot. That goes with all of those emissions, legalities, all that in there. And they also hold us to, like, each year it changes, what you can use the funds for, and they stay up with that, and they inform us and stuff, so.
So do I have an emotion? Do I have a motion to approve the grant writing agreement? Ms. Foster, second, Ms. Merle, all in favor? You have approval, Ms. Simmons, move forward. Property and liability insurance renewal.
So this year we did it out, our property and liability and workers' comp insurance, and, that is also a long process, because every time you read to bid it all out again, it's about a 56-page survey that you have to fill out for every company. But I'm very thankful for Hub International, Jody Harden and Miss Dana Baker. But, they bid it out, so we're switching to, Utico. We were with Selective. We kind of honestly kind of flip-flop back to go through it, it's like competitive, and they're the top two insurances that, are rated for schools as well. But Utica came in at almost $10,000 cheaper. We went on just, this was for information. I want to know that we did go on with Utica, and of course, the Hartford is our workers' comp. And of course, our workers' comp increase is due to payroll increase. But the annual property and liability and our auto insurance.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I can talk.
Ms. Breakin, the East Coast Secondary Transition Audit Report.
So this is kind of a follow-up. We had a couple of audits, prior to Christmas. One of those being one of our testing audits that we, got results back from. And this one has to do with our EC department, and the EC department is heavily evaluated and audited regularly. And so I just got in another report that I didn't have time to add to the agenda, but it is EC related, so I'm gonna do that next. But this one is just a follow-up. This is the one where they came in, DPI came in, and they were doing a post-secondary transition compliance review. And so basically that's just in order to prepare students with disabilities for transition to adult life, beginning at age 14 and annually thereafter, schools must complete required post-secondary planning actions. Educators must provide students with the individualized information, services, and supports needed to ensure that they have the opportunity to achieve their post-secondary goals. So the whole purpose is to make sure, the kids that are in our EC department, that have IEPs, that they also have transition goals so that, they are prepared for the workforce. A lot of kids start trying to get jobs and things like that. And so I'm gonna do my best, Ms. Garrison, on this. So Dr. Morris, please join me with your background if you would like to help me. But Ms. Garrison was saying, Ms. Reagan, it's kind of like an example, where the kids, you want them, like, things they're struggling with while they're in school, you want them to kind of set goals and work on those, because those may be things they work on their whole life. And so you want to kind of set goals in place so that they're successful. And we've had some transition, truth and transparency, case managers. I think that has a little bit of stupidness, no excuses, but, so we got our compliance report back. And what they do is they go through, and they have like, I put a blank copy in, the board folder, and it's labeled post-secondary transition, compliance review. But what they did was they pulled 5 records, student records, just kind of randomly, and went through and made sure that they were meeting these, transition goals. And so out of those 5, 2 of those records were compliant, which means 3 were not. And of course, that puts you down to about 40%, and that's not a percentage we like. But they do give you a year, to correct those, and so wherever the mistakes were. So, kind of analyzed this with Ms. Garrison, and we kind of went through it. My sheet has student names on it, so you can't see my sheet. But we went through those files, of who the kids were, so she can see what it was. And a lot of it had to do with in ECATS, in the system, it asks you multiple times for things, and if you miss a box, it'll mark you non compliant. And so some of this was, they were missing goals. They might have been listed somewhere else, but they weren't in the box that it was supposed to be in. And so those are some of the areas that we've got to improve upon. So those 3 records that aren't compliant, we have to go back in there. For example, there are appropriate measurable post-secondary goals addressing education or training, employment, and as needed independent living. So these are the things that were marked, that one was marked out. There's evidence that the measurable post-secondary goals were based on age-appropriate transition assessment. No. So those are some things that Ms. Garrison said, as she works with her new case managers in high school, those are things that she's going to review with them as professional development. She was very quick to let me know that the 2 that were under her caseload were 100%. I said, I have no doubt. But she is going to help train some of our new folks as well, that they can learn from this, like a learning opportunity. And so the example she kind of gave me, I was like, so what could be a post-secondary goal? And she said, that, for example, she said if a student, really has a hard time with like turning things in on time, you know? So she said, like, that's something that they've struggled with over the years and things like that. She said, maybe you want to put a goal in there that turn things in on time, 3 out of 5 times successfully. She said that would be just a small example of, you know, how they could be successful, because at work, you're gonna have to turn things in on time, you know, in college, you're gonna have to turn things in on time. So it's some of those that we need to make sure are in their IEPs, so that when they do go to that next level, all of that stuff is, in there with, you know, and they're making progress towards the goals. So, you know, again, there were other areas, and you can see in that report that, you know, we were complying within, you know, each section, but those are the areas that we're gonna focus. So, again, we have a year to do that. She said it will take a year. She said we'll either do them on our annual reviews, or we'll just call a special meeting and then make an addendum to their IEPs. Go in there, make sure we check that box and create a goal that the team, so she's already on it on, you know, how we can, correct that. So that was just a report, back to give you guys information, because that, we had that one, like I said, right for the holidays. And like right behind that one came in, an update. We also got, and this is, I did put it in there, I think I did add this, and this was O1C. So if you see O1C in there, I did drop that in the folder. But it's another DPI report. They're very good about making sure schools are in compliance. You know, that's their job. And if we're not, we need to be. So, this one was a big one. This one, is, Ms. Garrison said this one, the one that I just talked to you about is like on like a quarterly review or so much, like every so many years they go in and those are the indicators they look for. But this one is an annual. So this one, is, okay, so the Office of Exceptional Children is required to monitor the implementation of Part B of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. Make determinations annually about the performance of each PSU, which is a public school unit, and enforce as appropriate. So this is an annual review of like our whole EC program and like all the reports that the school has to file for the school. So this was a big, you know, she has to be on time, she has to complete those, and they look at this. And honestly, we're gonna be up for renewal, we're gonna start on that next year. These are the kind of reports that are cool to look at, our compliance reports. So this is based on last school year. So this is from July 1st of 2022 to June 30th of 2023. And there's a rubric on there to kind of what they use when they're scoring you. But so based on the PSU performance and the targets for key compliance indicators, this PSU annual performance report includes compliance, includes remaining indicators that reflect both outcome and compliance data. And while this determination letter reports compliance, it is extremely important that the APR being reviewed to ensure what compliance is also yielding positive outcomes for students with disabilities. So if you turn over and you look at the next page, you'll see that our determination at the very bottom was meets requirements. So she did very, very well on that, in turning in all of those indicators there that they look at, and they make sure she turns in all of her reports. She did very well. So that meets requirements, total score, points available 42, she got 42. So she wanted to make sure that I included that. Any questions about that? Just Dr. Moore, we did that. You did very well. Very well.
Thank you for the information. Okay, the next item is our annual meeting in June. We'd like to propose moving that from, currently it's on June 8th to June 15th. This is where the board comes together and does training, planning for the year, etc. Need to meet at least about 4 to 6 hours. Does that work? Does that date work? Do we need to look at an evening or a later date? We've got to do it in June.
I will not be in that. I will be.
Mm.
Y'all come.
Yeah,
Come.
that's a real
That's a
retreat.
retreat.
Yes.
That would be a true retreat.
Yes.
Not
Not in the
That-
budget.
I am scheduled to be traveling home that day.
okay.
If I need to come home early, like Friday, I can.
My husband's gonna be out of town that day, so I could probably find childcare.
Okay, so it's looking, not looking promising for the 15th. I'm gonna say let's table this, let's have some more discussion and how we can maybe adjust it, or maybe just do a long evening, sometime in June. Throw some dates out there, but let's, table the vote for now, Ms. Verhaken, if that's okay, until we can figure this out. Okay. Okay, anything else for this evening? Okay, our next meeting is May 14th, 2024. Do I have a motion to adjourn for this evening? Ms. Russell, second, Ms. McLean, all in favor? We are now adjourned at 8:26 PM. Thank you very much, everyone.